Matsumoto is promising us so much with this chapter, and it is amazing. Hello, my wonderful viewers, and welcome to another episode of Betty Adams Overanalyzes. Today we are going to take a spoiler-free look at Kaiju number 8, chapter 113. There is so much to talk about this chapter, even from a spoiler-free review. I'm going to try to keep this down to my usual length, but it's going to be hard. If you don't want to hear anything about the philosophical discussion, the history, the science, the expert writing, you can click away now to go check out the links below the video to get yourself a copy of my book, Flying Sparks. What do you do after the glamour of the initial alien invasion wears off? Kaiju number 8, chapter 113. Now, there are things called plot twists. That is where, if it is well done, the creator, the author, has carefully crafted 2 or more separate pathways, and it gets you to focus on one of them, which is more obvious, but actually takes the story down the other pathway. We do have a major plot twist here. It is perfectly logical. It is a shock to your systems. It is not what we were expecting at all, but it was actually, there was so much other stuff in the chapter that the plot twist took a while to sink in as a plot twist and didn't strike me as the main point of the chapter. Instead, there is another authorial skill that Matsumoto just is on full display here, and that is not a plot twist, but rather a weaving of the plot. There are so many story threads that are still unanswered. Now, one of the ones that Matsumoto doesn't explore in this chapter, so I'll be using it as an example, is Bako the tiger. Matsumoto has carefully fed us information about Bako the tiger. First, we see Bako hunting cooperatively, which shows us that he's not really a true tiger. I assume that meant he was a liger. And then in later chapters, we found out that he has actually been bred with kaiju DNA, and Bako is at least as much a kaiju as Kafka is. And Bako is Mina's third leg to make an instant tripod so that she doesn't have to sacrifice mobility when using her BFG. There's still the question of, did the Japanese Defense Force deliberately create a Tiger Kaiju hybrid for Mina to use? Did they just find him and decide to tame and train him? These are some big important questions, and they still haven't been addressed. Throughout the story, you have all of these questions. The biggest one has been, what was the origin of the little dragonfly kaiju that took over Kafka? Is this a new kaiju of a certain type, or is it an older kaiju that has been passed down through the generations? Is it like number 9, we are discovering more and more to be unfathomably old? Or is it just a certain type of kaiju who finds a host and spawns a new type of itself every generation? What is the origin of kaiju number 9? What drives him to behave as he does? Where does his power source come from? Are there others like kaiju number 9? What was that ghost at the Ariake Shrine? What does this have to do when tying into the real world Great Fire of 1657? What is going to happen if you happen to destroy this version of Kaiju number 9's body? You have all of these threads tying up, and you have so many people questioning, well, how long is the series going to go on? Once Kaiju number 9 is defeated, is the series just going to end? And you have all of these questions and all of these threads. And in this chapter, Matsumoto very logically and very smoothly, so that you almost don't know what's going on, gathers these threads up and starts to show you more of the weave of the story. And we see where the story is going, and this story is going a long ways. At this point, we are barely near the halfway point of the story. Chapter 113 makes us clear that chapter 113 is chapter 113 of at least 226 chapters. And we are indicated not by Matsumoto saying this at the end of a chapter note, but by rather the way Matsumoto starts pulling up these threads that go all the way back to the beginning of the story and displaying them to us and revealing things about them shows us that we have a story that cannot logically be concluded in under 100 chapters. We are nowhere near the end of our story. If this is truly Kaiju's number 9's death, and we start to get the concept that Kaiju number 9 is perhaps learning to lie for the first time, learning to actively deceive people by using his monologues, are looking at the end of the personality of the awareness that is Kaiju number 9, but that is hardly going to resolve the series. And then, by weaving all of these threads together, Matsumoto creates an extremely logical plot twist. Why didn't anybody see this possibility coming? Because we were looking at this, well, okay, Kaiju number 9 is clearly going to be defeated at the end of this battle. That's what everybody was saying. And when that happens, we're looking at two options. Kafka goes feral, and the Defense Force has to try to track him down, or Kafka regains control of the body, and the Defense Force has to deal with the fallout of now the public knows that they've been essentially using a Kaiju, which I really don't think the whole fallout thing would have been a huge deal, because all the Defense Force has to say was, yeah, we accidentally let one of our weapons out and it made some problems, but we've got it under control. We're sorry we didn't tell you sooner, yada yada yada. This is weapon number 8. All the Defense Force has to claim is that they did what they discussed doing and turned Kaiju number 8 into a weapon that's being wielded by this guy, Kafka Haibano. So I really don't think that was going to be a very challenging option. So we were set up between these two options. Kaiju number 8's presence is revealed to the community. Kafka is still in control, and the Defense Force deals with the fallout, which I really didn't think was going to be a huge issue. And I did wonder about that. Or Kaiju number 8 takes over, Kafka goes completely feral, and the Defense Force has to track him down and has to explain why this thing, Kaiju that was helping them, is now being tracked down. But those were the only two routes that we saw going forward. But there was a third route. And that third route, we don't know if that's going to be the one Matsumoto's going to take. But there are certain underlying facets of Shonen Jump manga that we can all trust in. Number 1, the main character is not going to die permanently. And so we're staring down this terrifying third path that nobody saw coming. But again, there's so much else to look at in this chapter. It's so well written. Matsumoto is bringing everything together. A lot of people complain about the pacing, but if this is the kind of writing we get, I can stand missing a chapter every few months. On a more personal level, I was actually kind of startled by this chapter because I thought it completely disproved one of my favorite theories. And then it turns out that no, it rather confirms it. And it also adds more evidence to. It doesn't do it directly, so I don't think it's a spoiler to say that this adds more evidence to the fact that what we are dealing with here, with Little Guy, with the Kaiju that crawled down Kafka's throat in the first place, is a very childlike intelligence, something that you could almost describe as being innocent. And those clues, I think, were strongly in the very first chapters. We're dealing with the way the creature was artistically presented, the interactions we see the creature have with Kafka. Then you have other concepts like Kafka really, really needs to actually start communicating with this intelligence and not just using it as a weapon. Just a bunch of other little theories that I've had that were either supported by evidence in this chapter or just straight out confirmed. Again, there's just so much in this chapter, and I am looking so forward to doing the full spoiler review, but this is my spoiler-free review. What do you think? Tell me in the comments below. What was the bigger part of this chapter to you? Matsumoto expertly displaying all of these plot threads that indicates that we've got at least another 100 chapters to go, or the big final plot twist at the end that left us all shook? Which one left a greater impact on your mind? Tell me in the comments below, hit that like and subscribe button, and peace out, my wonderful viewers.
Escape into another world with the writings of author Betty Adams. 2 worlds, one of utter absurdity, one of dramatic tension, both alike in aliens absolutely astounded by human behavior. Humans are weird, short, absurd science fiction stories. Flying sparks, dragons, aliens, and things that go boom in the night.
Books available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kobo by Rakuten, Google Play Books, and at AuthorBettyAdams.com for a signed copy.